Dunk.
How we doing, guys, gals, and non-binary pals? Infail here with another memes build video. Now, this Bobarb initially was inspired by the premise of the new changes, the masteries, in Season 13. I was so excited. However, Senpai did specifically state that it's one-handed weapon mastery, two-handed weapon mastery, but they are melee weapons. He specifically stated that. People have been asking me, most recently today, I was in a public map game and someone said, "Hey, Asgrim, you know, you're a bow barbarian. Does two-handed weapon mastery work with it?" And I said, sadly not, I'm afraid. Now, as much as it would be nice, I actually prefer the other change that Senpai hinted at, which could be this being changed into throw and bow mastery. That would be nice. It would be crazy powerful, because then we'd get pierce, damage, attack rating, and critical strike built in one go. That's kind of nutty, guys. I mean, this build is, you know, with a few bits and pieces here and there, you know, it's pretty damn powerful. This would make it, you know, S tier. I mean, it's powerful by memes standards, so let's not get crazy in the comment section, people, okay? It is a memes build, as I stated before. So, let's get into it. Seeing as we're already into skills right here, let's look at the skills. We'll start off in the combat tree. Just got enough for leap. Cannot recommend this enough. It's 3 points taken away from the rest of the build to get to leap, but it's totally worth it. I find myself repositioning all the time, and then the one time I need to reposition the Mercenary, I will use a teleport staff on Switch, but we'll get to that. So, leap, definitely worth it. Okay. Combat masteries. Now, this is important. So, this is an open wounds build. Okay. Now, people are probably thinking, Dean, why don't you just go Whirlwind? You know, why don't you just use Widowmaker? Because they'll see the skills in a minute, gear, and go, ugh. I'll be like, I wanted to try something different. I'm always making Widowmaker barbarians. And I'm fed up with it. You know, I wanted to make Endless Hail work, but we'll get to that in a sec. So, here's open wounds. So, we max deep wounds, and we max its synergy Grim Ward, which is incredibly useful. So I've got 10 hard points in Iron Skin, which gives me 5% physical damage reduction, just to help out when I'm standing at face tanking range, which I will show in the example gameplay, and gives me a decent defense rating bonus. 1 point natural resistance gives me 53% resistances, which is why I love barbarians. I love resistances, and makes it very easy to come by. We have enough points in combat reflexes to give me the faster hit recovery breakpoint, which I'll get to later. I don't get a lot of max life or stamina bonus and blah blah from it, but it's not a big deal. But again, I'll explain a bit better later on. And then we have enough points in increased speed for the same reason, to hit an attack speed breakpoint. So increased speed gives you the walk-run speed per soft points, but for hard points, it gives you an attack speed increase, 2% as it says per base level, hard points. And that counts as weapon increased attack speed. So I'll show you in the, like I said, breakpoints later on. And then lastly, in the Warcries tree, which is where a lot of this takes place, so we've got Max Grim Ward, which is incredibly useful. You get an insane amount of damage and attack rating from this. Now, a lot of people would say it slows you down having to keep laying it. I disagree. You know, the cadence in maps for me is to, again, kill something, Grim Ward, and when it's maxed, it has a huge radius, you know, 28.6 yards. So you can get to, you know, fairly far away before you have to do it again. And by then, you've moved on to your next monster pack. So again, you kill the first one, you know, you're probably still in range. You get to the edge of that next boss pack. Yeah, so on and so forth. But this is really useful. Don't sleep on having it out at all times. I've noticed a lot of people are using it more and more these days. Again, I was in public maps today with this guy just to get him to, you know, 88 for the video so people could be taking him seriously. And people were using Grim Ward. And I'm really happy about this. It's a skill that's like, why not? It doesn't slow things down. You know, just pop it down, reap the rewards. Anyway, so we've got 1 point wonders to get down to the nitty-gritty skills of this build. So I've got 5 hard points in battle orders, which is actually better for me than having it in combat reflexes at the end. Because at level 99, if I had it in combat reflexes and only 1 in battle orders, I'd have 150 max life. But this way around, I have 170 to max life. So only 20 more life. It's, you know, kind of useless. But the advantage is I don't waste points into faster hit recovery I don't need, because that would wind me up. But also, everybody else gets more battle orders. This is selfish. You know, I'm kind of glad I get to go back to pumping actual battle orders for everybody else. My mercenary gets a bit tankier. Party members can laugh at how shit my battle orders is. But, you know, we'll get to that. So, battle command maxed of course. Because Endless Hail gives you strafe as an O skill. So, bonus all skills +3? Yes, please. More attack rating, slightly tiny bit more damage. The damage is fairly pitiful, but you can leech surprisingly well. And the reason for that is this bad boy, Battle Cry. The rest of my points in this build from, you know, 88 to 99, if I was to 99, which I won't, but if I was, it goes into Battle Cry, which means I'll get a maxed Battle Cry. Now, that means minus enemy defense to monsters, which makes it easier to hit, so you don't have to worry about AR so much. And physical damage resistance is lowered, which means the physical portion of just shooting a bow and arrow, strafing with Endless Hail, will hurt more, of course. But the real damage, like I said, comes from the open wounds. And with that being said, we'll move on to the gear. So, Endless Hail, as I said, we have to have that. So we've upped it to a great bow, so it does more damage. Now, obviously, as you can see, the damage is fairly pathetic, but let's not worry about that. It's more than enough to face tank enemies and leech within reason. When I say face tank, you don't want to be right up close to them, but very close to them. You can get away with it. You don't have to be sitting at the edge of the screen going plink, 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 please don't hit me. In fact, you want them to hit you, because open wounds gets transferred by this little gentleman here with his Thorns aura. So we have spec'd for max open wounds. So if we get hit, we make them bleed, or we shoot this, strafe, and make them bleed. So this has 3 jewels that have 15% increased attack speed, and 2 of them were over 110 open wounds, and 1 of them was 103, I believe. So that's not bad, all self-found. And then the last jewel that went in there was my godly jewel that I've had on the market all season that everyone kept trying to undersell me on. So I was like, well, I'm just going to self-use it then. So it was a 40% ED, 13 to max damage, 6 to strength, and very large open wounds damage. So great jewel. I'm glad that I get to self-use it, to be honest. So, open wounds bow. 453 there. So the armor is tooth row. I was actually going to use Crow Core with a Cannot Be Frozen Slam, but then I found this on my journey with this character, and I'm a big fan of using things you find. So I found this, I slammed it, got +1 to all skills. I thought, well, that'll help a little bit with battle orders and, you know, masteries and everything else. It, you know, even adds a tiny bit of open wounds damage, like 30 or something, maybe 50. And I'm like, okay, because of the deep wounds plus. I thought, okay, it is an open wounds armor as well. This is an open wounds build. Why not go with it? So I P-boxed it and got 2, which I was very happy about. So 2 big open wounds jewels went in there. One of them was 11 to life, and the other one was strength, which put the strength up to 28 strength instead of the base of 20, I believe. So yeah, and that ended up being 541 open wounds. I'm pretty sure it had a reasonable open wounds roll beforehand. It wasn't terrible, put it that way. But yeah, so that's so we got 453, 541 so far. Then we move on to the helmet, which is the defensive part of things. It can't all be open wounds, people. This is hardcore, not softcore. So we went with Ariet's Face because it gives 2 to Barbarian skills for the masteries and the cries and everything. The +4 to leap there doesn't really mean much, but it's still, you know, the combat skills are kind of useless. But again, it pluses to leap, so it's like, okay. Anyway, we're using it for massive fast hit recovery, bonus attack rating to hit things, life leech is always good, defense is always good, strength and dex. I have issues with trying to meta the strength. It just goes way over because of the way the bonuses work with this, but not much you can do about that. Dex is damage, 16, all good. Replenish life slam isn't brilliant, but I am a whore for replenish life because, again, you're standing around shooting, not being you know, in melee range, like I said, entirely. So you can get away with getting a bit of life replenish in between leaping about places and things. Again, it's not the best slam, but it's all I had. And I P-boxed it and sadly only got one. So, yeah. Because I'm building this so late in the season, there was a guy sending a 3-socket Ariat's face for a Vex or something, or a Gull, and I messaged him and he was very polite about it. He said, oh, sorry, dude, I've already sold it. So I was like, oh, never mind. So I just went with what I had, as I said. I'd have loved the 3-socket one. More open wounds, Jules. But again, I'd have probably put more ums in there too, because we need max res. So again, mostly for the res, I'm wearing this helmet. Again, if you don't like what I'm using, use something else, guys. You know, we're not bound by this. You know, but we went with safety here. It's the same with this aspect here too. You could use Atmoscarab here for more open wounds damage, but it only adds a couple of hundred. So I figured, all right then, why not get an amulet that gives you massive attack rating, so you actually get the hits. This one's a stat stick with 25 to strength, which is fantastic. A bit of fast hit recovery, of course, but most importantly, Pierce Slam. Yay for Pierce. It could be a better roll in lots of areas on this, but I was fine with it. After many Barbarian amulets, crafting and slamming and things, I was like, this is okay. It does the job. Now, this bad boy was given to me by Luckdog, who's usually in my chat, but also in other people's chats, namely Cramps. Good guy, old Cramps. Anyway, so this was my old quiver. Before Lockdog came in on a Cramps raid to my stream, saw what I was using and said, dude, I've got an insane open wounds quiver if you're interested. And I'm sitting thinking, yeah, this has got, my one's got 663 open wounds on it. I think I'm fine. But obviously I'm not an idiot. I had a look. Because again, mine's got 18 max damage, max roll, reasonable ED. Cold resistant slam was a bit pants. So I P-pieced it for 2 and went about my merry way. 23 dex is damage. All well and good. But then I didn't think I could get better until I saw this bad boy, which I'll bring over here a second so you can see better. So increased attack speed is useless to me, sadly. My gear's already factored in with all of that, so you know, not worth. But again, nearly max ED, min-max damages, ignores target's defense is fantastic for you know, fighting all the white mobs and maps and things, and then the bosses is where the rest of the big AR bonuses come in when you need them the most. The 20 poison damage over 2 seconds comes from one of the jewels that's in there, an open wounds jewel, but as I put 2 of my better ones in here, which meant they couldn't be in here. But this ends up being 715 open wounds damage as opposed to 663, and obviously every little helps. Considering this quiver is much better than this one. So, yep, we're on it. And mana per kill helps to keep the strafes going. Prevent monster heal. You know, you've already got open wounds, but prevent monster heal on top of that? Why not? Great quiver. So, yeah, that's that. Rest of the gear then. So, we've got Gore Riders. Slam with 23 life. I found them myself, slammed them myself. Not the highest open wounds on there. It's very low open wounds roll. But I liked the 20% chance of Deadly Strike, because again, the Endless Hail is kicking out pretty pitiful physical damage. But if we get the Deadly Strike going on, more leech. All good stuff. Now this ring is pretty bad, but I needed Lightning and Poison res to get, you know, to get the 75 cap, and this gave me that. And also Mana Leech, because I don't have any Mana Leech if I take that ring off. So yeah, needed it. Bit of max damage, bit of poison length reduction, tiny bit of magic find. It's a rubbish ring, but it does the job. It fills the slot. Doing okay. Right, so Razor Tail. Again, I can't... One of my viewers... I can't remember who it was. I apologise, but one of my viewers... Because my Razor Tail that I had on here before, when I was showing this on stream, slammed for even more attack takes damage. So it went from like 88 from my character level to like 243 or something. I was like, oh geez. I said it doesn't matter though, because with his thorns it will, you know, hit the attack takes damage, even though it's kind of weak unless you invest in it heavily, and then it becomes pretty good. And I said, oh, I kill for a pierce one, and he was like, dude, I got a pierce one. And I was like, no. And he said, it's Kiwi. I remember it's Kiwi now. Kiwi said to me, it's rotting in my stash though, dude, so just use it. I'm not using it. And I was like, okay, in that case I'll take it then. because I didn't want to pay 3 high runes for one, because I'm a stingy git, you know. And now I have big pierce, razor tail, best in slot that is for this. Right, Ravenfrost with even more AR. I slammed that on stream the other day and went, yeah, made a face, because that is exactly what we want. Cannot be frozen, dex for damage, even more AR to make sure we actually hit to proc the open wounds. Happy days. And again, open wounds, these bad boys. I think I paid either a gull or a vex for these, I think. Because mine was slammed with 30 life. And I was like, well, as much as I love the life increase, I'm a barbarian. I can increase with battle orders and everything else. So I went out and bought a pierce set. So that is luckily closer to max open wounds as well. Because I believe the open wounds on my Drax, I don't think were as good. So we end up with lots and lots of open wounds from our gear. We'll do breakpoints and stats in a minute. I'll show you just how much. For now, we're going to do charms, though. So moving on to charms. We've got some 10 maxes. I actually moved off. There were 3 10 maxes here. So I had 4 of them total. But I moved them off for life. Because I realised that, again, I don't have to stand back and be squishy and be an archer from a distance when I can leap into the middle of packs, encourage them to hit me, proc open wounds from thorns. So I thought, right, well, I'll put the life ones in. There's slightly less damage on them, so it's an 8, an 8, and a 6, but they have a fairly decent secondary life stat. So I thought, yep, that'll do. Happy days. That being the best life one, 8 and 44. Yeah. So the rest of them are faster run walk, and then some masteries to help out with the res and the open wounds and things like that. So a little assortment there. And then we've got a absolutely rubbish barb torch. First ever run on Uber Tristram. It's hilarious. The Annie isn't much better. I only just upgraded that recently with, again, the Fire Claws Druid doing his first and only tier 2 declone. Sorry, tier 2, tier 0 clone. His previous Annie used to be 31.15. Now it's 33.20. He did need the res, so that's a good thing. Still a rubbish Annie for vitality, but again, doesn't matter. It's not really an issue. And then the rest of the charms, only a few 3 maxes, because I tend to just use what I find. I'm not going to go out and trade for these. So we got, yeah, couple of 3 maxes that aren't brilliant. Then, oh, another one. Then the rest of them are 2s. 2s with no other stat. They're kind of terrible. Oh, that one's faster run walk at least. So yeah, just to touch back on gear again. Sorry, I keep doing this. On Switch, we have Naja's Puzzler for the 3 tool skills bow buffing as well as teleport. So it's all in one place. Like when I level up, I use Spell Steal for the amp and teleport. But by the time I hit level 78, especially on a Barbarian, it's all about the plus skills for, you know, pre-buffing and teleporting. And as you can see in the inventory, we have a Demon Limb, which I do buff up as well on to get extra AR to hit. My AR is quite nutty. It doesn't have to be that big, but I do enjoy it being that big. So where's the amp come from now then, guys? So, the amp comes from the Mercenary. So we'll look at him next. So the Mercenary has a 5-socketed Reaper's Toll. And it's super duper, that's for sure. He doesn't have any open wounds going on, as you can see. I could have put open wounds jewels in here, but I went with ED just so he can, you know, I'm cranking out the open wounds. He's cranking out sort of physical side of things and open wounds. So yeah, bit of speed, and the rest of it is ED, pretty sure. I'm waiting for him to level up or fight, you know, so I can put something else on him. I don't remember what it was. I don't remember where it is. But yeah, this is kind of Crown of Ages light. My brain's telling me Crown of Ages, so I'll probably go with Crown of Ages for the physical damage reduction. Because he did have a physical damage reduction armor on, but when I found this the other day, I switched out for this because I thought, right, Tora, that's going to help both of us. Let's do that. So yeah, that has a minus requirement jewel in it with 9% enhanced damage. Again, we're not talking major big bucks here. You know, Rockstopper's not big bucks, but again, big reses, big fast hit recovery. Happy times. Anyway, this is the only Sigurd Staunch I've ever found since the item came into play last season. And I was like, oh, wow! And then it slammed for Magic Find. I went, oh, Sad times. And I don't really have a build to put it on. So I thought, why not put it on this guy? You know, his defense is 7k now. I believe when I buff him, it's like 10, maybe more, which makes him the tank that he needs to be when I need to stand back away from dangerous packs and just shoot. You know, he can stand in the thick of it and tank, because he has really big defense. It's great. So Marowak for Cannot Be Frozen and the strength to put these sorts of things on. And then lastly, his only source of open wounds is my old gloves. As I said, 30 to life. Didn't lie. Mama didn't raise no fool. Anyway, as I said as well, 271 open wounds was lower than my 296. So they're still good. He's not really using it for, like I said, purposefully tanking up on open wounds. For him, it's mostly about life leech, life per kill, things like that, so he can be a tank. And obviously the strength you get from them to put this on. Again, it's very strength intensive. So yeah, he's a bit of a beast. He does that now, but when I buff him with Battle Command, he does way more. Resistances are okay, apart from poison. He does pretty well. He tanks, like I said, because of the amount of damage he does in life leech, he does okay. So moving on to breakpoints and stats. So with me, I've got enough strength to put my gear on. Now you're probably thinking, yeah, but Dean, the highest is 121 Endless Hail. But it's because of all the bonuses you get. Like, I could put a strength ring on at the start of every game and strength bug and just have that little bit more in dex. But I was like, oh, I can't be bothered with that. It's bad enough having to go battle orders, battle command, shout, switch, throw the thing on, enchant, throw it back off again, put teleport back on, run. So I'm like, I don't want to have to do that either. So yeah, no biggie. Strength doesn't do anything for your bow attacks. Dex does, hence why we have a huge amount in dex. And the only reason I have so much in vitality, usually I'd stop about there. And obviously this is without battle orders, of course. But because we can, as I say, get up close and face tank and get the thorns to release the open wounds, I got a bit more life than I'd usually have on a ranged character. So yeah, that's my rationale there. So at the moment we've got 7k, 4-9, 2-1 defense. Resistances aren't quite maxed yet. So if I was to go do that, then as I said, quickly do that. Back in again, put teleport back on, switch back. So yeah, I do have battle cry there if I fancy it, but most of the time, Grimward, and I can hotkey battle cry. It's on F1. But yeah. So stats now. Sorry, yeah, we've got 11k AR, which is nice. Really good chance to hit. The damage again still looks pathetic. You're probably thinking that's crazy, Dean. But bear in mind, guys, that is 5 shots. Attacks up to 5's targets, right? And it's like, okay, yeah, they get hit by not even 3,000 damage, you know, maybe 1,000 on a good day. Yeah, but then the bleed kicks in. That's the difference, yeah? The physical damage is only there for me to leech, and it does an okay job. And bear in mind, that's 5 hits on a single target, so that's 3, 6, 9, 12, you know, 15. I'm rounding it up to 3,000, even though it's 2,875. Come on, bear with me. Right. But yeah, and obviously, you know, it's got reasonable attack rating and damage there added, Strafe does. So, you know, if it was just a normal attack, it would be absolutely terrible, see? So, you know, it's not bad. It adds a little bit. Anyway, so, actual stats then. Physical damage reduction is only 5%, as I said, because of Iron Skin. We have the 48% fast hit recovery breakpoint. We have 61% increased attack speed, strafing, which puts us at 9 frames, which is pretty damn reasonable, because if we wanted to get to 8 frames, and obviously the leap between 9 and 8 is huge, it really is, but we'd have to take away a lot of our open wounds duels. They'd have to be increased attack speed open wounds duels, or I'd have to put like Andy Visage on Demon Head, and I'd much rather have the Barb helmet, because it kind of looks cool. I mean, it's not very fashionable, cool, and, you know, but never mind. Run walk is not unreasonable, because that doesn't take into account our velocity from increased speed. So it looks low, but you do move around pretty fast, as you can see. You can reposition pretty well. You've got tools to do so. Like I said, you've got leap, and I've got teleport on switch for repositioning. Right. Most important part then. Let's get down to that. We do 4,549 open wounds damage. Now that's pretty damn good considering we're not using Messerschmitt's Reaver, we're not using sorry, not Halberds, we're not using the Demon Horn Helm. Derp. I can't remember what that's called. Top tier video, this one, right? But I figured, again, I could have bought one with 2 sockets, I think, or something, real cheap, just for the open wounds damage on the helmet. I thought, no, again, defensive, just go with it. It didn't add much. Wasn't necessary. But again, as I said, 4,549, that is not bad. Pretty damn good. A tiny bit of crushing blow, like I said, doesn't really help. But if it does trigger, yay, on bosses. And Deadly Strike, 35% triggers more than you think. Especially with the amount of shots we're pumping out. It does pretty well. Life Leech, as I said, and Mana Leech and all that, and Mana per kill and all that, they're pretty low. But, again, I tend to find we're pumping out enough shots that, you know, that being, you know, quartered is still fairly significant. It's not bad. It's really not. And we have 75% Pierce, which is, again, not 100, but without sacrificing other gear slots for things. You know, I thought 75 was a reasonable compromise in the Pierce factor there. So all in all, balanced. Not perfect, but balanced is my opinion on that. And, oh, sorry, the Mercenary, he has decent res, as we can see, apart from Poison. Boo. He has a tiny bit of physical damage reduction from Rockstopper. It's one of the reasons I've not took it off. Maxing his res out and giving him damage reduction. But obviously, Crown of Ages will do better. He just... I don't know why I haven't put it on yet. Sorry. I will do. Anyway, he has the 60 fast hit recovery frame. Again, I could pull the shale out and put a ruby in or something, because, you know, he's not there yet. Or faster hit recovery dual, 7% with minus 15 requirements. If I had one, that would put me up to the 86 breakpoint. Yay. So again, something to search for. You know, doesn't have to all be in there. And then increased attack speed, he's got 9 frames, which again is still a reasonable, you know, 9 frames is not unreasonable, I don't think. So he's still got a 47% chance of open wounds and 563, just a little tiny bit to tickle along to go with mine. Nope, losing it. He's losing it. Yeah. Deadly Strike. Huge life leech. And he's got the 10 life per kill from those. Right? So, map choices. It's pretty simple. Just don't do Tomb Assault and Call because it's physical. You can do Torrigen. You can do Lost Temple. Don't do Fall of Chaldean. You know, you're only really looking for physical. Now, saying that, you know, you can break it fairly easily by breaking out the Battle Cry and the Mercenary kicking out the huge 31, you know, level 31 amp on striking. So technically I could have said, you can go anywhere with this build. But I was doing Throne of Insanity runs today, and even with me casting Battle Cry and him casting amp, the ghosts in there that are physical immune nowadays were an absolute pain in the ass to take down. So my recommendation would just be, just don't do anything with a physical on it. Okay? Example gameplay. You will see my madness. There's method to it. So we'll take Demon Road, tier 3. Don't know why we're doing a tier 3, but we'll just do it anyway. So yeah. Buff up. Throw on the thing. Do the thing with the thing. Make sure you've got teleport for repositioning, because we, like I said, do this. And then we go into it. So we'll leap in. Like I said, we see a pack. We can do that. Then move on. Then the first thing that pops out, we do that. Now we have ridiculous, even more ridiculous AR. Yeah. Oh look, I'm getting hit. Doesn't matter. Like I said, you can just. Now technically, I could just walk away from all of this. That one's not bleeding anymore. All right. Shoot something that bleeds. Right. Move away. Okay, hang on. He's not ticking. Oh, he's one of the immune to physical boys. That's why. This is why this is awkward. So you have to break everything, then start the tick. And as you can see, their life gets wiped out. These examples aren't brilliant here because I went in with physical immunes like an idiot. Yeah, tick's really bad on them. Like I said, physical skill, physical immune, not going to work. This was not the best map to showcase. Okay, good. There's something that can get kicked. And obviously he's going to jump in and clean up. We can't stop that. That's a good thing. We want him to do that. But it is fun to just watch things, life tick down, as you can see. He was ticking down while I was gobshiting my mouth off about how good this build is. But yeah, so jump in. Like I said, if you want to go a bit faster, the cadence is jump in, cast battle cry, start spamming the thing, immediately raise that when you see it, and then just do that. Oh look, move on again, keep going. Not the best example here, because again, the Spectres are physical immune, but yeah, that's the, oh shit. That's the cadence. Bam, bam, bam. Then if you can catch something, see, that's a good sign that you can't catch something and watch it bleed if it bleeds so quickly once you've shot it that it goes down, you know? There we go, that could be fun. So if you were one of those fast mapper people, you could just jump in, like, 'cause I'm not, I take my time, jump in, just, you know, do this, get the odd sort of pack sorted with bleed, and then just move on. Just move on. If your loot filter kicks out something up there, in my case it was some potions, that's not good enough. But let's say a jar rune popped out, then obviously, you know, you're over here somewhere. Oh wait, hang on, go back. He's bled a jar rune out. Or in this case, a Trangle's jawbone. It's, yeah. So obviously, you know, the cynics out there have waves of criticism going, oh, this is awful, why would you do it? Again, it's a meme, it's fun. You know, it's not Messerschmitt's Reaver, an F Messerschmitt's Reaver, leap attacking, charging the open wounds and moving on. It's me jumping in, shooting, open wounds, move on. Again, if he's ticking, which he very slowly is, but again, because he's physical immune, that would have been a good example there. Never mind, eh? But yeah. It's silly, it's fun. I mean, I was having fun with it. Now I'm not. See, now I'm getting hurt. Oh dear. Oh, and by the way, one of the things as well, the recent change to Ice Barrage is so sad. I was very sad about that, because even when it was a low chance to proc the Blizzard was nice. It was a lot of screen noise, but it stacked heavily if you got it to proc on every hit. And it did actually do a reasonable amount of damage. At the very least, it would slow enemies down. You know? Ice Barrage does nothing. If, again, this gets seen by someone who makes these kind of decisions, which it won't, I would say get rid of it altogether if you don't want it on there. You know? Because I would say just change it back to Blizzard. But if it's like, no, Blizzard was making too much screen noise, it was horrible. It's like, okay, well, get rid of Ice Barrage then. Either change it to a different skill that goes in line with the name Endless Hail, even though the hail is about the hail of arrows from Strafe, not necessarily the hail from the Blizzard, but it did work when it had Blizzard. Now, with Ice Barrage, it's just pointless. Get rid of it. Makes no sense. Either change it to a different Sorc skill, or just get rid of it and add a new something else on there. I don't know. Maybe a chance for Cold Enchant on striking. Wishful thinking. Anyway, I'll wrap this up now, guys. Like I said, the example, this is a really bad map to pick for example gameplay. Like I say, I can assure you it moves a lot faster than this. Like I said, you run in, you move, you do the thing, you do the thing, you do the thing. See, look, they're not physical immune. They went down. That was the plan. See, he's ticking. See if I can just shoot him. Move away. Yeah, and then we run away. We move on. Yeah. You get the idea. Like I said, this isn't a very good example of gameplay, but it's a fun, you know, way of dealing damage. Anyway, I'll shut up now. This has gone on far too long, this video, so thanks for watching. Appreciate you. Take care.